Anyway, I'd like to thank you all for coming, and I'd like to welcome the stage a very interesting group of individuals. So, Badr Alherbish, Chief Strategy Officer for Tourism Development Fund, Martin Boudreau, President and Executive Producer, Parks and Hospitality for Cirque du Soleil, Gregory Lanter, Chief Development Officer and CEO, Mountain Strategy, ClubMed, and Ollie Wood, Senior Director, Adventure and Sport of the Red Sea Development Company. So thank you for joining me, gentlemen. Thank you. That's what I was trying to do. And the guy used to entertainment is last on stage. So today's session is, we've got about 35 minutes, and we're going to try and look at leisure and hospitality and how they go together. So jumping straight into it, I think, Greg, perhaps you can start as, tell us who's coming. In terms of demographics, who comes to resorts 20, 15, 10, 5 years ago has changed to now. So what are the trends you've seen over recent times?
Well, I would speak about three trends that we've seen over the last 10 to 15 years, and that's been driving our strategy, basically. The first one is definitely now, compared to 20 years ago, what we can see is the arrival of a new clientele from many new countries that 20 years ago we were told, or we would have been told in the resort industry, that they would not enjoy holidays like other countries have enjoyed for the past so many years. One of the examples has been the Chinese. In 2004, when we started to sell holidays to Chinese, people were telling us they don't swim, they don't ski. They're never going to remain or stay in a resort and never going to stay a few days because that's not their style. 20 years later, even if COVID has changed a bit the things lately, they do. But another example, same, is we are welcoming in the French Alps these days 25,000 Brazilian family guests for ski. 20 years ago, Brazilians would not ski, but now they do, with their family. So that's one first thing, and we have the same with Indonesian and Thai people going to ski in Hokkaido. Same, family travelers, they want to experiment family holidays, as these has been offered for quite a few years now. Then the second part is Epicurean savvy travelers. That's what we see, affluent people who are willing to experiment holidays, but they are well-read about holidays and traveling. They know what it is. And then they want this hassle-free experience so that they can concentrate on family bonds, the things they do with the family. And that's another trend, and that is something really across the board from all the different clienteles we can see. We have from all the nationalities this type of families. And the third trend, which is also a very important one for holidays, is the 3G traveling, three generations. We more and more, and especially in our product, which is so seamless and allowing for this, we have grandparents, parents, and kids going on holidays at the same place at the same moment. And they choose a place which is not a villa. They choose a place where it's good for everyone. Everybody can really enjoy. The only difference from these 3G families between different markets is who pays for the holidays. Interestingly, in the Western world, it's very often the grandparents. In Asia, it's very often the parents who are paying
Always
for the
that,
grandparents. So that's an interesting difference. But these, if you want a few trends, that's the trends that we've experienced lately.
Okay, and at what point did you see skiing in Saudi Arabia being a threat to skiing in the Alps? At what point did you see skiing in Saudi Arabia being a threat to skiing in the Alps?
It's another interesting question, and I think there is a room for everyone. We have ski resorts in China, where you have 1/10 of the length of slopes that you have in the Alps. But it's for certain clientele, for the local markets, it's very important. It's good for Chinese to be able to ski in China. It will be good for Saudis to be able to ski in Saudi. And then we'll teach them how to ski here, and then they will experiment Japan, Hokkaido, the very powder snow that you have there, and the French Alps, and then the US. So that's a good way to educate the clientele.
Yeah, well, fair enough, and that's explaining who's going to come. So I guess the next question is, how are we going to get them here? So I know that the Saudi government's putting a lot of focus on attracting tourism. So perhaps, Badr, you can explain what TDF are intending to do to support this, and what can they do to contribute towards these initiatives?
Yes, I think it all starts with the strategy put forth by the Crown Prince and the Ministry of Tourism, establishing the Ministry of Tourism, establishing the Tourism Development Fund and the Saudi Tourism Authority, along with other entities that are specifically aimed to solve different challenges. From TDF, the TDF's point of view, we're here to support the private sector investments in Saudi Arabia. We have been established 4 years ago, and we supported projects totaling around 35 billion riyals, around $10 billion. And we support, I think the easiest and fastest way to explain it is to talk about the two extremes. So on one extreme, we support entrepreneurs and people with ideas through our TDF Grow programs. And on the other extreme, we go identify a right piece of land for an iconic tourism project, and we develop the studies. We onboard investors, operators, and developers to develop an anchor projects to activate that destination, and everything in between. Last year, I'm sure you all heard the announcements. We achieved our 2030 targets last year already, and our targets have increased from 100 million visitors annually to 150 million visitors. And maybe the most important statistic is the spend in tourism in Saudi Arabia last year was around 250 billion. And although the inbound tourism accounted for 25% of the visitors, the spend they accounted for 60% of the visitors. So that shows the importance of the inbound and international visitors to Saudi Arabia, and that's where our targets will exponentially grow in the future. TDF is here to support when it comes to investors, operators, developers, landowners, local and international. So the team is very busy day and night, especially in these few days, and we are more than happy to provide any support.
Okay, well, it's probably going to be the Red Sea is going to be one of those groups that's going to contribute towards that 100 million.
Nicely done.
You can explain what percentage of the 100 million will come to your destination, but what will the Red Sea doing to accommodate, the different demographics, the families?
Yeah. Well, look, it's been interesting walking around and listening to the discussions and sitting in on the panels. Because there's a real focus on the diversity of the traveller now, and also one of the things that we are embracing now that we're open is this multi-generational travel, and particularly in Saudi. We said from day one, Badr and I have worked for many years together, and lucky enough to know that we have 3 resorts that are open, 1 just opening now, and we've got this opportunity to really tap into the fact we have this height chart of traveller within the family unit, so people travel more together now. So you've got young travellers, you've got older travellers, so the diversity is the key. And then I think looking around, the other thing that's important is identifying your position within the market and understanding that with all of these different people that are competing or collectively collaborating to bring Saudi to life, it's where you fit. So for us, it's that ability to have the diversity of the land and the sea that makes us unique, gives us that identity. Plus, we're surrounded by 2 great towns and 2 great communities that drive that in. So then we try and tap into what every age range will want from this experience. It's how to occupy and then how to keep growing and how to go through all these experiences. So whether it's on water, whether it's below water, whether it's inland, whether it's sedate, whether it's a family package, whether it's Saudis are very romantic is the thing that we're working on STA with very now. So it's very much about bringing all of that to life with the experiences that we deliver, and then keeping on growing and making sure that we stay true to our identity, which is completely grounded in where we stand, which is surrounded by nature.
So the opposite to nature I see is, and don't kill me here, a circus marquee, which is perhaps the origins of Cirque du Soleil, but it's gone far beyond that now. And Cirque du Soleil is a brand that is super exciting, and we've seen all sorts of different leisure offerings from Cirque. But as part of that, it really targets the family. So, how do you see the needs for families and individuals be catered for, and and what do you see, how do you see that fitting into hotels, Martin?
Well, I think my colleagues have explained very well the shift that we're seeing in the demographics, And obviously that has an influence on the guest and what they're looking for. From our experience, what we're seeing is we could summarize, we used to summarize that in what we call the 4 T's. So there's a big focus, there's a big shift in focus in the experiences world, where the luxury trend that we've seen in the last few years is no longer just about the design of the rooms, designs of the lobby or the pool or amenities, but it also transfers to the experiences. They want to be able to live experiences with their group, and this is becoming a very important component of their vacation. So when we summarize that, we call that the 4 T's. The first one is together. So they want to do that together. So it's no longer you have something for the kids, you have something for the parents and for the grandparents. They're looking for something that they can spend a few hours all together experimenting something. The second T is the tailor. So they want to be able to have something that they feel is exclusive to them, that they've been able to influence what it would be, and to define it together with their group, what they will be doing. The third one is taking part of it. So they want to feel like they're part of the planification. And one of the examples I give is always, we used to see in those luxury resorts before, there was always that special picture on the website where you could see the dinner couple on the beach having their own evening, the two of them together. Now this is shifting to that little dinner, romantic dinner, shifting to a family dinner in the suite with the grandparents, the parents, and the grandkids. And they want to be part of the planning of that. So they can go with the chef during the afternoon at the fish market or at the port, choosing their fish, to the farm, choosing the vegetable, planning the meal together. Then they prepare the meal in the room and they enjoy the meal together. So it becomes an entire experience with different touch points. And the fourth one is when you do all that extremely well, it becomes a transformative experience. And this is where you know that the guest have been touched, and you're creating memories, and that it will give them a very good reason to come back and to experience that. So I guess that summarizes a little bit how we see this happening.
Mike, I don't want to interrupt your flow, but the other thing that we were talking about when we all got together is because of this investment going into the industries and the variety and diversity of work and careers that's happening in Saudi, but also globally, you've got a whole new set of traveler. We look obviously at luxury travel. So, this little kind of, soundbite of 61% of luxury travelers by 2026 will be millennials and Gen Z. That's opposed to 31% in 2023. So what that does is that completely shifts. There's people that are making money out of diverse industries that are more accessible, quicker, younger. And so the luxury traveler really changes in terms of their personality, become more demanding. I've seen that before. That's boring. That's old. What can we do that's new? So investing in innovation is something we'll come to, but I think that's another really interesting space where you're balancing that new old, right? The experience of being creative and part of the process and enjoying it together, but also that investment as a business into what's new for that market that's coming quickly.
That's a very interesting discussion, and I do really share your points, guys. I do really share what you say. That's probably the reason why for a while we had a partnership with Cirque du Soleil, where we were bringing Cirque du Soleil experience into the ClubMed resorts. Because at the end of the day, it is, and that's a shift, because the thing is shifting from the hardware to the software.
It's evolution, right, but in reverse.
Because at the end of the day, the hardware, you can always put so much marble, or you can always put so much facilities. But the software is where the emotion is coming from. And this emotion is what's making people being transformed at the end of the day. And one of the best examples, which is, I think, the aim that we all have around the table, is the example of one of the owner of ClubMed Resort, who told me after a stay a few weeks back that he went to ClubMed in the Maldives. And he came back saying it was the first experience with my wife and my 11-year-old daughter. During the week, she had an amazing experience. She experienced Cirque, trapeze, flying trapeze and everything. And during the week, she said to me love words that she had never said before this, at 11-year-old. And I believe that's really the target that we have.
Yep.
Because with this soft product, with the way we put people together and make sure that they have nothing else that matters than creating the bonds together, creating the bonds with other guests or with the staff sometimes, because that's also part of the experience, you can get to this point where at the end of the stay, they have discovered something within each other that's not going to be the same afterwards.
Which is quite simple. Yeah, the simplicity of being a traveller can become confused with the overwhelming nature of like constant growth and change. And I think you remember coming off Eid holidays, as a lot of people have done, that's a very simple bonding, connecting, disconnecting experience. And I think, you know, that's what you're saying. It's like it was a trapeze, and now I love you, Dad.
But that's changed, hasn't it? So I go back to, showing my age here, 30 years ago when I was on the family holidays, and it was 3 days solid of playing table tennis. And it was inflatables in the pool. It was the kids club, the organised activities, which I think is very different to what you're looking to implement now. So how do you balance that family, those experiences, having time together, doing basic activities with luxury? Because perhaps they don't merge together, obviously.
They do, they really do, because I think, you know, income levels don't necessarily always define what people want to do on holiday. The simplicity comes back into it. You want to kind of connect together. It might be that in different
They define what we can't do. Like,
yeah,
I can
well,
say that.
arguably, but I think also there's you can choose to have a kayak or you can go on an e-foil, you know, different price points, but a similar kind of connection to nature, the experience that's shared. You get a trimaran kind of kayak or a catamaran and go out on the water in that particular example. And it's about that ability to create moments where you either meet somebody new, connect with your loved ones, and find a place in the holiday where you can do different things. I don't think luxury needs to be different to that. I don't think innovation needs to be the noise that distracts from that. It's just trying to find that thread that runs throughout, where ultimately you get away to be with others or experience new things.
And there is a time for everything at the end. During a week, you were right to say, families that do want to experiment things together. But there are other moments of the week where they do want their time to experiment something for themselves. The kids making friends with others, the parents being freed from the kids.
Precisely.
Depend on the moment of the week. And then you're right to say, if you have dropped your kids for an half a day or a day where you want to be kids-free, you don't want to see the kids of the others. Probably more than if you have no kids. So then it's how you design the place so that there is enough space for everyone. There are spaces that would be more for the couples, free of kids. But there is also extensive facilities for the kids. And it's not just about the facilities, but it's about the people taking care of the kids, so that the kids have an amazing moment, so that the parents can be freed and living a moment alone. And when they will gather again after this, that's where they create and they say the love words. Because separation is making also the pleasure to get together again.
If I may add, I'm not a hotelier, I'm not a Gen Z, but I can tell you the first time I experienced access to my concierge on my WhatsApp or on the app, booking a restaurant while I'm in the pool, or asking them to go clean my room when I forgot after I left the hotel. That was a wow moment. The first time you experience it, then, you know, every time you go to a hotel, you would expect a similar level of seamlessness. Of course, you don't want everything to be digital. You want to be able to communicate to interact with the concierge and with the staff, and experience that hospitality. But the option of, you know, covering and taking all the, clearing out the stress from your mind and planning checking in your room digitally as well. So these innovations, they're not maybe technically classified as luxury, but the convenience is priceless at that moment. Checking out when you have a flight and there's a long queue at the reception, and you can check out on your app and just hit the road. That is something that you will go back and tell your friends and family about. That this property, you should go check out that property because it offers that convenience on top of course, what you would expect in clean, comfortable, and a room and a smiling staff as well.
Yeah, it's all about the frictionless journey, should we say? But we then talked about the demographics, and perhaps you can give us a local's insight. Then, what are the demographics the kingdom is trying to attract? Because we talk here from a developer point of view, what they can offer, but how does that tie in with what you see?
It's an easy and difficult question to answer because Saudi Arabia is huge, and we have different value propositions for different destinations. That's basically my answer. So if you talk about the targeted tourists in Riyadh, it's completely different than who we're targeting to attract in Al-Ahsa, completely different than in the giga projects like the Red Sea and otherwise. And that's what we offer at TDF. We try when for example, we've had discussions with Greg and the ClubMed team, we're trying to identify the perfect location that fits what they are looking for, but also what fits the strategy of that destination. Sometimes we're identifying up lands in destinations that are not active yet, but we're trying to create what we're calling anchor projects to drive that destination to where it needs to be, but all that is tied to the source market we're trying to attract.
How do you define that? How do you decide which is the international tourists you're targeting versus the staycation?
It's the value prop. So we're trying to stay true to what each destination within Saudi is offering. We're not trying to build the biggest, largest, fastest, and most shiny. We're just trying to accentuate or accelerate or expose what the value proposition of that destination is today and really offer it in a way that is most attractive to the tourists, whether they're local or international. So it's not that we're trying to fit in or attract a certain market. We're just trying to accelerate what would have naturally been the trajectory of each destination.
So I think the answer is one size doesn't fit all.
Absolutely.
Okay. So if we look at that, and I think, Martin, you've had incredible experience globally. So how do you determine something that you've seen overseas that you might think will work in the kingdom, or something that you've seen overseas and you're just like, that's not going to work here? You've recently brought Disney to Saudi Arabia. So were you sure that was going to be a surefire success? Were there doubts, or where's your judgment on that?
I think the first thing we like to do when we start a potential collaboration is really to spend, for us it's extremely important to spend a lot of time discussing at the beginning, understanding the partner vision, the developer, the objectives, the market. All that time that is invested at the beginning in doing studies, research, testing ideas, doing focus group, spending time on the ground, and looking at the different offer it takes time, but it's an extremely good investment, because in our case, it's very difficult to take an existing product and try to copy it in another market. The good example is the dinner show that you know very well in Cancun in Mexico. Most of the developers who approach Cirque du Soleil, they have seen an existing show, whether it's in Las Vegas or a touring show, and this is what they want, because this is what they've seen. But as soon as we start to look at the market and all of this, Las Vegas is a very unique market, so is Disney in Orlando and all those big destinations. So it's important to tailor the product for the destination, and then for that specific example, Hoya became a huge success because we worked with the developers with his expertise. It was really a collaboration trying to define, okay, what will work well for your guests, what are you trying to achieve, but what can you deliver and what can we deliver to make sure we create value together for the guests. But then another beach resort destination operator came to us, saying, wow, incredible success in Mexico. We want to replicate that in Waikiki in Hawaii. Same thing, beach resort destination in the US, very famous, very luxury. And I started to spend time over there and all of this to realize that the 4 hours, and this is what they were discussing a little bit earlier, the 4 hours that we're able to convince the guest in Mexico to dedicate to an evening experience is not at all the same in Waikiki, in Hawaii. The guest won't dedicate 4 hours for an experience, maybe 1.5, 2. So we took that same product that we developed in Mexico and we shrink the experience to a 2-hour experience, but keeping the same touch points to make sure that we create the emotions and the wow factor that we want to have from the guests. But for us, it's really about spending time with the developer, the operator, and making sure we understand all the parameters before we give the mandate to develop the product.
So you're coming in from outside, but then if we look, from an existing operator with existing properties, how do you go about defining, new trends? Because everything's been done. You think about it, that's been done, but you've constantly got to think ahead of the curve. So how do you go about doing that?
Well, the way we operate our places is a very hands-on operation everywhere in the world. So we have a direct contact to the guests, and we have a direct feel of what's changing in the habits and the requirements of the guests. The works that you could say that everything has been done on kids' facilities and everything in the past, and there's nothing new to be done on this field. But I'm going the way you were speaking about, which is the transformative holidays. So over the past few years, we've reworked completely the way we design our kids' facilities, and we've done this with specialists of the kids, generally speaking, so that the facilities are designed in a way everywhere in the world which is the most adapted to kids of today. And then what will change from one destination to another is the feel, but not the facility. The second part is working on the soft product for the kids, which is how do we make sure that the week we will spend with these kids, with an extremely trained staff that we have, is going to bring something to the kids. Is going to make sure that when the kid is coming back, he's got more. He's learned how to interact with being a Saudi, with a German, or with an American kid, and being open and aware to the world thanks to the week of holidays it has. And we've called it Mini ClubMed Plus, which means it's going beyond taking care of your kids. It's about bringing your kids to come back with something more from the holidays. So that's an example of the way we transform both the hardware and the software to stay tuned to what are the new trends of these new clientele we were speaking about.
Yeah, and then the likes of Ollie just have a greenfield development where he can pick and choose exactly what he wants. But I'm sure you have to look at new trends. You have to, we hear so much about the sustainability in the Red Sea and the eco nature of it. So how do you integrate those into the offering?
So look, I think there's several answers. And I think what's interesting is going back to this simplicity thing, right? You've got, Red Sea and Amala, and these two abundant, vast territories of nature, both very different in their offering as developments and destinations, but also in their topography and environment. And I think what we tried to do in the new trends was, instead of perhaps going externally or outside and bringing people in to support us with the delivery of experiences, we tapped into this real Saudi sense of pride. I've been living in the region for 20 years now, and I've been part of kind of Saudi business and growth for the past decade. And so what we wanted to do was actually create brands that delivered experiences that were Saudi-made, Saudi-born, tapping into that. And that has been insane in the level of pride. And it's not only this level of pride that from people that visit and go, oh, where's this brand from? And I'll talk more about what they are. But it's also, how do I work with you, which we're all, really keen on. How do we employ with this big market of careers that's out there? How do we employ in hospitality in the diversity of positions? So then take that back a step. We created 3 businesses under a kind of Red Sea Sports and Entertainment banner. One of them was WAMA. WAMA is water, and Ma, the Arabic for water, and pushed that together, and that became our above water brand, and that's the electrification. So yes, that's the hardware, but then it's as simple as putting a sail up and grabbing this northwesterly wind and having fun as a group or as a family, but it is also e-foils. We love an e-foil. Everybody goes on it. Do they get up? No, so they come back, and it's just this growing relationship, and investing in this electrification, which has been difficult in itself, because when you're moving as an innovator, as a business, you're trying to take industries that perhaps aren't as quick as you along with you. So investing, being the first person to get involved, means you can customize and have things specific to you, but it also means you have an element of risk in the fact you're doing it first. There's prototypes, there's concept. So we're very cautious and very careful to invest in the right businesses and work with the right partners. And that's where people like TDF, bringing in all these brands from around the world, really support. Then you have Galaxia, which is a coral that's endemic to the Red Sea. It looks like a constellation under the water. Galaxia is our diving brand. So that's very much technologically led. So it's about taking diving with you around the world, and that connects to our sustainability agenda. Let's not strangle the natural assets we have in Saudi. We have the unbelievable opportunity, because we're starting from where we are, to actually allow all of these environments to breathe and grow, because in the essence, they are the simplicity that draws people to our destinations. And then we have Akun. So Akun means to be, and that is fundamentally start where you stand, be where you are, detach from all of that noise of the city life or wherever you were coming from, to be in the moment on holiday. And that is the inland adventure that connects all these trade routes. The Hajj route connects the 2 towns. A lot of the 2 communities, Juhayna and Balowi, there are the youngsters are coming in and they're having jobs, so that you have grandfathers, grandmothers, the stories that are told throughout time that haven't yet had the chance to be told. So we're very much the translator of the landscape and the community, and delivering that in an experience, which isn't a new trend, but doing it in a way that it is rooted in Saudi and identity is rooted in our destination. I guess that's the trend we're trying to crack that differentiates us from everything else in the market.
And what trends are you seeing there, Badr?
Well, I think there are a lot. So building on technology, ease of travel, sustainability, whether it's, TDF has just launched or completed its ESG strategy, and we're intending to offer incentives to investors who are committed to sustainable development. But I think the more important, you don't want to capture the trend, and then the next trend comes along, and then you're not ready for it. So I think having a long-term mindset and addressing sustainability within your operations, having a clear value proposition to a clear target segment, that is, you'll be able to capture any trend. And once you understand they have that level of depth of your customers and the value proposition of the destinations that you're operating in. So people will continue to come to Jeddah, for example, but they want to come and experience Jeddah. So whatever new trends, they still have to be anchored by what Jeddah has to offer. And the same can be said anywhere else in the world. I think there's an incredible opportunity for existing establishments in Saudi Arabia, as we are launching a huge renovation program which is an incredible opportunity for international operators to upskill and uplift the existing demand. So we're not only focusing on bringing in new projects and new anchor projects or new offerings in our destinations, but we're also catering for the existing offerings that maybe the train had passed by. We want them to catch up and capture the trends that are upcoming.
Yeah, and I think it's all super exciting. I think everyone on here is going to play a part in that, and is looking forward to it. And there's so much more I would love to ask, but I'm just seeing an eye on the clock here. So I say, we have got about 1 minute. So just, first of all, a huge thank you, but just in case there was any question or two in the last remaining 30 seconds. And if not, I think it would be, I don't know if you've got anything you'd like to add as a final comment, Greg, Martin?
Thank you very much for animating this panel so well. Thank you.
Come to the Red Sea.
Come to Saudi, come to the Red Sea, visit Cirque, and stay in the ClubMed. There we go. So a
Exactly.
big thank you to everyone.
Reach out
here.
to TDF as well.
And reach out to TDF. There we go. Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.